We play sport in the north of England where, you know, it can be quite tough in terms of upbringings and honest upbringings in honest environments. Andy has certainly had a journey that's been, you know, nothing's been given to him.
He is someone that my son will look up to because of the challenges he's had and because of where he's come from. And it is a rougher place, but they are good people, but his decisions could have been swayed either way.
He could have had a completely different life to what he's got now, completely different life. Could have been more like prison or drugs or a job that he was going to try and find cash in hand every other week or something like that, whereas he's really pushed himself to look at it from a more positive point of view, where he's like, I'm not going to have that life, I'm going to push myself.
Here is Ackers, here is Ackers, what a dummy from Andy Ackers, what a try to settle this game.
He's had to really work hard and be determined, be resilient and keep going after, you know, disappointments or one road blocks his turn and gone another.
So we're just on my estate that I grew up as a kid in. My nan's house is just behind you there. That's who we lived with growing up. And obviously, as a young lad, like we never had much and stuff. We never went short, but we never really had much round here and stuff like that. So playing rugby as a kid, when I started about 11 or 12, I only probably played for my dad. Really, my dad was a big fan of rugby league, so I played like obviously a couple of years there, and didn't really enjoy it as a kid. I was playing obviously probably with my dad, and I probably got a bit too much pressure put on me and took the enjoyment out of it, and then I ended up packing it in when I was probably like 14, 15 and started hanging about round on here and stuff like that with my other mates. And these rugby sticks, we used to actually come and play rugby on here when we was obviously, I've got a lot of cousins and it was only me who liked rugby, like I said earlier, and I used to just try to get them all on here so I could just smash them all really when they was really doing me head in. I remember we was playing one game here, my cousin Jim Bob, we called him as a kid growing up, still called Jim Bob now, he's like 31. He cut all his arm open here, there's a big piece of glass and he was scoring a try there. I'll always remember it, it's one of them memories what just stick with you. And he was scoring a try there and he obviously broke line. There was about 12, 13 of us all playing. And he broke line there and skidded on a I think it was a broken Stella bottle that cut all his arm open. My nan had to take him to hospital. We carried on playing rugby. Nah, but good here, it's good. My nan's been massive on my life really, not just my career. She had a lot on her plate, to be honest with you. When she took me and my brother in to live with her at such a young age, I think I was like 10. Reese was a bit older than me, he's maybe about 13. She's had a massive influence, she's done a lot for us, obviously housed us and stuff like that. Don't get me wrong, my dad's been there for me, my dad's been great for me. I didn't live with my dad as a kid growing up though, but I did live with my dad later on in life, and he's done a lot for me, rugby-wise and career-wise and stuff. He's always took me to places, but yeah, my nan was always probably that shoulder I used to come cry to and stuff like that, you know, so yeah, big respect to my nan. Probably when I was about 17, 18 when I started back playing again. Obviously, I wasn't working back then. So I obviously needed something to do for a living. I think I actually signed on Dole when I was 17 to give me nan some money and stuff like that coming into the house. But I had a chat with my dad, and my dad just said, "You was good at rugby. Why do you not give rugby another go?" And I just said, I don't think I'd make it at this. Like, everyone was on scholarships and academies. I've not even played on a scholarship or academy. I've been in any professional system. So I started back at Goulburn Parkside around the corner here. When I was like 17, 18, played a couple of games. But obviously there was no like scouts or anything coming down Goulburn way and stuff like that then, because back when I was younger, the Goulburn Parkside was quite a big amateur club. I don't know what happened to obviously Parkside, but obviously the systems and the grading systems, the kids' systems and stuff like that just went to pot really. So I ended up going up to Inley Amateur Rugby League there, and I met a bloke called Carl Briscoe there, and he got me into, and Barry Taylor, they got me into the Wigan system at under 18s. I think I only played an handful of games for Inley there, and then went straight down to Wigan 18s, and it just took off from there really.
Ackers is going for it and getting it, and the Ackers!
He got let go by Wigan, and that really hurt him. You know, he speaks to me quite a lot about that, and that's one of his biggest moments where he could have gone either way, and he went down into League One.
I was at Warrington, and Warrington was unsure about the contract next year for me, and Swinton was the feeder club at the time. But I had a good year there. I think I was only 19, 20. It was like kind of my first involvement playing like the men's league. It was quite hard because I remember I was working with my dad on a building site while I was playing at Swinton, and obviously I was getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I think when me and my dad were leaving at 5:30, and then I was rushing home from work from the building site straight to training at Swinton, and obviously part-time, they only train at night, like 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. Lads can only make it from work then in the next couple of hours on field, then a couple of hours in the gym. So some nights I was getting back at 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, and it was just same again the day after. The first couple of days I remember it was like outside there today, torrential rain, and I was digging for some gas. My dad had made me dig for some gas on a spade. I think obviously because it was my first full-time job, I think my dad was pretty made up that I actually went working with him, and I remember him asking me a question as I was hitting for this gas, and I was hitting rocks and stones. And he tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Are you enjoying it, lad?" And I looked up at him, chucked my spade, and I said, "Does it look like I'm effing enjoying it?" And I think he knew from then, he was like, this isn't for him, but obviously I had to stick with it. And I think my dad purposely put me through it because he knew that there was better out there for me, do you know what I mean? He'd probably seen it that I could have been a rugby player. Obviously I had a manager, he just phoned me and just said there's an opportunity at London Broncos for you for the next year, and it wasn't much money and but they'd accommodate my housing and stuff, and I think it was a one year deal, but it was anything back then for me. If it was anything full time, I wanted to be a rugby player. I just wanted to commit myself and be a rugby player, whether it was Super League or because the London Broncos gig, that was the Championship, but I think there was the only full time team in the Championship, so I went and took my chances down at London, and I ended up signing another 2-year deal when I was at London.
So I think he'd been professional for a year, and then I met him in his second year. So he was like, right, I'm on the train now, I'm going, I'm off, I'm on it, I'm staying on it. So that was his goal, basically, just to stay on that train. He had nothing else in mind. He's like, I'm not going back on the sites and stuff like that. I am playing rugby forever now.
I had a lot of growing up to do back then. I think moving to London grew me up pretty quick. I was just like a young boy at heart, really. I'd never really been out of Goulburn. I got a nosebleed every time I left Goulburn, so I still don't think I was matured enough when obviously I'd met Kirsty for a good few years. I'd say it's only probably the last couple of years I've really started maturing since I was become a dad. So I've had a lot of growing up to do, and we've had our ups and downs and stuff like that, but I'm glad we've come out on top.
You want to hold her?
Yeah.
He doesn't know anything about rugby yet, does he? He likes coming to games.
He likes coming to game, but he likes waving at the mascots, that's what it is.
When it makes me a bit emotional looking back at how far he's come. Like, he's always tried to get himself into a really good frame of mind where he's wanting to do better than yesterday all the time. And he has his hiccups, don't get me wrong, as we all do, where he slips back into a negative frame of mind. He's tired from training, and he's sick of this and he's sick of that, and then he just brings himself back, like goes the extra mile every time he brings himself back out of it. And we've had our hiccups, and every argument is resolved so much faster because he's changing his frame of mind. He was a very negative, grumpy person, and he knew better. Do you know what I mean? Whereas now he's so open-minded, and he can actually go, "Oh, I see where you're coming from with that," instead of digging his heels in. Do you know, like his ego, he's not getting the better of him anymore, and it's so nice. I've seen him grow up. It's lovely.
Where's Snowflake gone?
Kirsty does my eyebrows sometimes in here, don't you?
Yeah. You're not supposed to tell them that, you're supposed to be masculine.
I know.
Well, I signed Andy Ackers at Toronto first and foremost, so he was at London. But I followed him prior to that when he was at Warrington as a kid. We went to Swinton, so I've been fully aware of him. I know his strengths, I know his weaknesses, and I thought there were always more in him as well. So on speaking to him prior to coming to Toronto, I thought, yeah, he's a kind of lad. He's very motivated. He's driven. He's got goals that he wants to achieve, and I like that about him. He is what he says on the tin.
We were still like early days, to be honest with you, but obviously he asked my opinion and how I would feel about it, and I told him to go for it because of the training situation. They trained in Manchester, so he would have been home more, but again, he did have his stints where he was away. So yeah, I thought it was better for him because the reason for leaving London as well was literally through being homesick. He was a proper home lad, always in Goulburn, never went out of Goulburn. So basically it was killing him being away, like really dragging him down really bad. And then when he did go over to Toronto, he had his stints where, I'm here for 3 weeks this time, but it's okay because I'm going home and I'm going to be training at home for all the other times. So that was really good. Instead of just being constantly however many miles away, he was only just down the road when we were playing for Toronto, and then the odd spurts away.
There's been a sense of anticipation here about this first transatlantic team. Toronto Wolfpack. Sonny Bill Williams' Toronto Wolfpack will come here having worked for 3 previous years to get onto this stage.
Just turned 26, we just got promoted to Super League with Toronto, obviously. It was a big occasion because obviously Toronto was in the limelight. They'd signed Sonny Bill Williams, we had some big name players. So there was a lot of pressure on us and a lot of tension on us, which I think I did all right, to be honest with you. We played Castleford Tigers at Edinburgh, which was a packed out crowd, so yeah, it was really good. I think there was only 7 or 8 games we played for Toronto in the Super League before obviously COVID hit and stuff, and we wasn't far off in the games. I know we'd lost every game and we'd won one against Huddersfield in the Challenge Cup, but yeah, I don't think it was too much of a big of a step really, because I'd been in a full-time environment since London at 22, but I know it was Championship with London and Toronto, but it wasn't too big of a step. The players, the opposition and stuff like that, and the players who we were playing with just had a bit more rugby sense, a bit more of a rugby brain. I keep pinching myself sometimes because I think when I look at my phone album I get a bit emotional sometimes, and I think we actually didn't know how good we had it. We've got it good now, obviously it's the best job in the world, this rugby league. I love it, I love coming to work every day, but being in somewhere like Toronto, like next to America, and like waking up every day in sun there and going playing rugby in a massive city, it was just too good to be true, and I'm very, very grateful for that opportunity I had over there. There was a lot of stuff that went on behind closed doors at Toronto, which a few people have come out, well, basically everyone's come out now, but with Toronto being in the headlines and not paying and stuff like that. But a couple of weeks before it all happened with COVID and stuff, a couple of months, like we was getting paid late.
It hit us hard at that point because we'd just got our mortgage. I was just about to have the baby, so I was pregnant for a long time in the sense of when he was away. So when I was saying he has his 3 weeks away and then 4 weeks away, 2 weeks away, that was all through my 9-month pregnancy because it was the season, obviously. So I was doing like a lot of work at home by myself, and then like obviously he'd be helping me with the bills, like sending me money over, and then it'd be a case of they've not paid us, and I'm like, oh, but I'm not working as much as I can do because I'm pregnant, we're saving up for a mortgage. It did affect us big time. And then when we moved in, it was one of them like first time mortgage. Have we made the right decision? Have we done the wrong thing? Like is this the right thing to do? We've got a baby on the way, we're due in 4 weeks, what we're going to do? It was quite a scary time, to be honest with you. It was.
So I ended up speaking to my manager at the time, and I just said, listen, I don't know if the club's in a bit of lumber or whatever, but I need to set myself up with my security wise. Obviously it's no good for my anxiety and stuff. So obviously I'd spoke to Toronto and they granted me a release, and then obviously spoke to Ian Watson at the time and Paul Rowley. I rang Rolls and they really wanted me, and they gave me a 3-year deal straight off back end of that. So it was really good really, and obviously unfortunately the 2 weeks after that move Toronto went under.
He's a star, Andy Ackers.
What a player Andy Ackers is.
No, Andy Ackers is so important for Salford.
Worked so hard on his game. He's played in the Championship, played in Super League, been a terrific performer.
I think sometimes, you know, you need some adversity to really inspire and drive and give you that drive and determination to work harder than everybody else. And where Andy is now is off the back of hard work, honesty, and sheer determination. You know, is to prove people wrong a lot of the time is probably a motivating factor for a lot of people.
Yeah, a lot of lads take the mick, to be honest with you, and say with that Dad and Lad and I'm his blue-eyed boy, but we've known each other a long time. Like you say, he signed me at Toronto and we got on straight away like an house on fire, and we speak daily and stuff, and he's a former hooker and he knows what he wants and he's played the game. I think the biggest thing with Rolls and me is just he put his confidence into me, which when at a young age I probably struggled with a bit of confidence and, you know, a bit of maturity. And I remember him just pulling me to a side and just saying, you've got to take your maturity serious. It's time for you to mature now, because obviously we see me around sometimes, I'm probably a Jack the lad, you know, inside, but when it's training I'm 100% committed, and when it's game time I'm 100% committed. But I started taking myself serious outside of rugby league, being as professional as I could, changed my mindset on everything. the way I look at life and stuff like that now, I'm grateful, and I think he's seen that in me and just give me the opportunity and the belief to play. And I think obviously we've been having a good year last year, we've been selected for the World Cup in England and stuff. I think a lot of that's come off back of Paul Rowley.
Williams to his right, he's going to have a go, and Ackers finds a way through, and that caps a wonderful performance by him today. A run from dummy half that has paid dividends.
Probably one of the most emotional days I've had when it's not really concerned me or my family. I had an inkling that he was in because they asked me for some pictures for the changing room, and obviously we had to keep it a secret. And then when he rang me up and he was emotional and he was getting upset, I was getting upset. He told me about his dad getting upset, so I think because he did it the long way around, it were even better. He appreciated it much more than if he'd have just got it, you know, in his first couple of years. So that was, we'd both seen I'd seen how hard he'd worked. He obviously knew how hard he'd worked to get there. So no, there was no better feeling.
And over goes Ackers.
He's always looked to better himself. He's always been honest with himself, been able to accept criticism and constructive criticism, and he continues to do so, and there's more in him to come. But I think what you see now in Andy Ackers is a different person, a more mature person who takes himself seriously, and that reflects in his game. He's a well-rounded international hooker now, and you know, I think that has a good ring to it. I like putting that at the side of Andy Ackers' name, that he's an international hooker. I think it's a title that he deserves, and I want him to keep hold of that spot, and I want him to achieve things internationally. And success internationally, as well as obviously with us guys here at Salford and this group of players that I know he enjoys playing alongside.
Anything is possible. Like, if you put the hard work in and you yourself do it, you can't let anybody else do it for you, and that's just proven, like Andy's proven that. If he's done it, he's pushed himself, he's took himself to training. His dad's dropped him off, but he was the one running around them fields, and he was the one trying his best, and he was the one like taking an outlook like, I don't want my life to be like that, I want it to be like this. And he worked hard for that, and it's possible, it can happen to anybody as long as you try.